My boyfriend brought home a stray cat. He claimed he was way too busy at work and asked me to look after it. But the moment he left, I heard the cat mutter under its breath. Ugh. Who are you calling a stray? You cheap, cheating scumbag. Then, it turned its head toward me. Its voice was filled with pure frustration. I'm a purebred Maine Coon. I cost $80,000, honey. I was supposed to be a romantic gift from your boyfriend to your best friend. But those two realized I'm way too high maintenance. They were too lazy to feed me, so they dumped me on you. And you're actually standing there smiling? Skeptical, I took a picture of the scruffy-looking cat and searched it online. To my shock, it really was an incredibly rare, expensive breed. Seeing my dumbfounded expression, the cat continued its sassy rant. See? I told you you're clueless. You're even about to give up that prestigious clinical fellowship to your bestie. You think doing that will save you from a long-distance relationship? Let me tell you, he's already got his transfer approved. He's moving to the branch office over there soon. They've already picked out a loft to move in together. Yours truly heard that once she gets back from the fellowship, her career will skyrocket. That vacant chief of medicine position is being kept warm just for her. I immediately opened my laptop, wrote my application overnight, and sent it to the chief's inbox right before the deadline. In our Snapchat group chat, Maya sent a voice note, her voice sickeningly sweet and babyish. Chloe, what am I going to do when I move to Chicago? I'm going to miss you so much. Ethan immediately followed up with a text, speaking as if it were the most natural thing in the world. We should pitch in and help Maya rent a nice apartment. It's not safe for a girl to live alone in a new city. I didn't reply. They just kept chatting away without me. Ethan, you're not Chloe's husband yet. Don't you dare touch my bestie's money, even if it's for me. Oh, stop pretending. Who was the one crying on FaceTime last time because some creep followed her after a night shift? Let's get you a safe place so you don't cry again. Humph, and who was the one who used chasing away a creep as an excuse to drink half my bottle of Cabernet, pass out on my couch, and force me to drag him back? I quietly closed the app. Maya was my college roommate for 4 years. She came from a poor background, so I constantly helped her out financially. Her favorite catchphrase was always, "What would I do without you?" And Ethan was my childhood sweetheart of over 10 years. The only reason they even knew each other was because of me. My phone suddenly buzzed. It was a notification saying my car allocation had been approved. I had been eyeing that dream car for over 6 months. Finally, I could buy it. As I was planning the payment, the cat's voice drifted over lazily in my head. Why waste money on a depreciating car? Buy real estate. It's way better. I froze. Property in this city? I don't even have enough for a down payment. The cat rolled its eyes, its tail swishing imperiously. Who said anything about buying luxury condos? By the pigsties. Yours truly has connections in the feline world. A fat orange cat from the city planning commissioner's house told me that area is about to be acquired for a massive Disneyland expansion. $800,000 will turn into $10 million. Do you get it, dummy? I stared at the "Congratulations, you're approved" notification for 5 seconds, then resolutely cancelled my car reservation. Ethan's call came through a second later. He demanded, "Why did you cancel the car reservation?" I realized that since he knew more about cars, I had used his phone number for the reservation updates. Then, his tone shifted effortlessly. Actually, since Maya is moving to a new city, commuting will be tough for her. Why don't we use that money to buy her a car instead? Wow. They really were leeching off of me and me alone. How did I never notice this before? Looking back, when Ethan and Maya first met, they acted like enemies, both complaining that the other was stealing my attention. But at some point, their dynamic shifted. Ethan started buying duplicates of everything for Maya. He even invited her to our holiday dinners, Valentine's Day dates, and anniversaries under the guise of loving me so much that he loved my friends too. Back then, I thought he was incredibly sweet and considerate. Now I realize I was just the shield. On the phone, Ethan was still rambling, making plans for my money. Out of that $300,000 you saved, give Maya $100,000 for her rent, and use the other $200,000 to buy her a decent car. That should be plenty. I casually replied. Sure, go ahead and look at apartments and cars for her. I need to take a shower. Talk to you later. Ethan clearly didn't expect me to agree so easily. His voice filled with pure joy. Chloe, you are so understanding. You're the best. In the past, when he praised me for being understanding and Maya chimed in with, "Thank you, bestie," it warmed my heart. Now, looking back, that wasn't gratitude. It was them gloating over how easy I was to exploit. My stomach churned, and I felt physically sick. I hung up, opened my laptop, finished the fellowship application, double-checked everything, and hit submit exactly 1 second before the midnight deadline. Phew. As the "submission successful" notification popped up, I took a deep breath. Want to use my spot to get a promotion and a raise? Want to use my money to move in together and play house? In your dreams. The next morning, I took the subway to the hospital. When I pushed open the office door, Maya was already sitting inside. There was a breakfast spread on her desk, a gourmet sandwich and an iced latte. She was sipping it with a lazy, content smile. Seeing me walk in, she put down her cup and waved her breakfast box at me with a smirk. My secret admirer sent this over first thing in the morning. He even remembers all my dietary restrictions. As she spoke, she intentionally brushed her hair back, revealing a fresh, dark hickey right above her collarbone. Her voice dripped with braggy sweetness. Chloe, do you think I should finally say yes to him? I put down my bag and replied flatly. Well, you have to take the horse out of the stable to see if it actually runs. Her smile stiffened for a fraction of a second, but she quickly recovered her cute persona, though a trace of smugness lingered in her eyes. Don't worry, I'll definitely introduce him to you eventually. Before I could reply, the hospital WhatsApp group buzzed with a notification. The fellowship candidates have entered the final evaluation stage. Results will be announced within 2 days. Maya glanced at her phone, and the corners of her mouth practically reached her ears. She slid over and grabbed my arm, her tone incredibly light. Chloe, out of everyone, you and I have the best shot. Since you're not competing with me, I practically have this in the bag. Ethan said he wants to celebrate early tonight. Are you coming? I pulled my arm back and said coldly, I'm busy. I have outpatient clinic duty today. She blinked, sensing my sudden coldness. Why are you acting so weird today? I walked to the door and threw a glance over my shoulder. It's time for your rounds. With that, I walked out, not bothering to look at her face. The morning sun beamed through the hallway windows, casting a bright light on my white coat. I quickened my pace toward the clinic. At the end of my shift, Ethan was waiting for me. He leaned against my office doorframe, putting on his usual, peacemaker attitude. Chloe, don't be a party pooper. Even though Maya is leaving for the fellowship, she's going to be all alone there. As her friends, we should celebrate for her and talk about pitching in for her rent. I closed the medical chart in my hands and looked up at him. The list isn't even out yet. Are you guys popping champagne already? Ethan choked on his words. Before he could speak, I took a step forward. Catching Maya completely off guard, I ripped open her shirt collar. The dark red hickey on her collarbone was instantly exposed under the bright fluorescent light. Since Maya has such a passionate admirer who brings her breakfast and leaves hickeys every day, I don't think she needs you running around worrying about her rent, I said calmly, looking back and forth between their pale faces. If you have that much free time, Ethan, maybe worry about your own business. Maya's face went completely white. She scrambled to pull her collar back together. Ethan's expression froze, and a brief flash of guilt crossed his eyes. I didn't waste another second on them. I turned and walked straight out of the office. Leaving the hospital, I took an Uber straight to the outskirts of the city. I had passed by this area before but never paid attention to it. Now that I was here, it looked even more desolate than I imagined. Abandoned warehouses stood tilted, their rusty metal roofs full of holes. Broken bricks and wild weeds covered the ground, showing faint traces of an old, abandoned livestock farm. A few collapsed animal pens still barely held up their wooden structures, and the air smelled faintly sour. According to the real estate agent, the previous owner wanted to make a fortune raising livestock, but a massive disease outbreak wiped out his inventory, leaving him bankrupt. This land had been a hot potato on the market for 2 years. I knew exactly what I was doing. I didn't just throw in the $300,000 I saved for the car, I scraped together every penny of my personal savings and even borrowed $400,000 from my parents. With a total of $800,000, I bought this entire desolate farm lot. The moment I signed the contract, the agent handed me the keys, giving me a look that suggested he thought I was the biggest idiot on earth. I took them. They felt heavy in my hand, but for the first time in my life, I felt completely secure. When I got home, I locked the contract safely in the deepest drawer of my desk. I opened my phone and saw that Maya had just posted on Instagram. Her grid showed a lavish Italian dinner. Wagyu steaks, lobsters, and beautifully plated desserts. Ethan sat opposite her, showing only half of his side profile. Her caption was pathetic. Is this how friendship ends? We just drift apart? So heartbroken. Underneath, Ethan had already left a comment, it's okay. I'll always be by your side. As if that weren't enough, he quickly added another comment. Chloe was out of line today. I apologize on her behalf. Their little back and forth made me want to gag. I was about to close the app when the Maine Coon, who was busy devouring premium wet food, suddenly let out a lazy thought. Short on cash, are we? What's the rush? Did you forget the designer solid gold jewelry set you lent to Maya? I slapped my forehead. How could I have forgotten about that? Back when we first started working, Maya complained that she was worried her colleagues would look down on her, so she wanted some high-end accessories to boost her confidence. Ethan had chimed in, urging me to lend her my solid gold bracelet, necklace, and earrings for a while. He promised he would buy me a brand new set later. I hadn't thought much of it at the time, so I handed them over. But Ethan's promises, like all his other lies, were always deferred to next time. Meanwhile, Maya wore them everywhere without shame, eventually stopped mentioning them altogether, and even secretly bragged to others that they were a gift from a rich admirer. Gold prices had skyrocketed recently. That set weighed over 50 grams. At today's market value, it was worth a fortune. Since I had lent it to her without a formal agreement, getting it back wouldn't be easy. But I wasn't the pushover I used to be. Whatever belongs to me, they're going to spit it back out. I took an Uber to Maya's rented apartment. The hallway was dead quiet. Just as I reached the door, I heard their hushed voices coming through the thin wooden panel. Ethan, do you think Chloe noticed something? The way she acted today was really off. Don't worry. We've been together for 2 years, and she never suspected a thing. She's incredibly gullible. She's probably at home right now feeding my cat for us. The two let out a low chuckle. Maya's voice turned sweet and smug. So, do you think she'll really lend me that $300,000? I'm dying to move into that loft with you. Of course she will. She always does what I say. Oh, good. I feel so much better now. So, how are you going to thank me? Just with words. Then came the rustling of clothes, followed by muffled, breathless giggles that made my stomach turn. I sneered and banged on the door with all my might. Bang. 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 The loud noise echoed through the empty hallway, triggering the motion sensor lights on the entire floor. Who the hell is that? Ethan's voice rasped, clearly annoyed at being interrupted. Me. Chloe. I shouted. Instantly, a chaotic scramble erupted inside. Chairs knocked over, followed by panicked, hurried footsteps. A moment later, the door swung open. Ethan stood there, his shirt buttons completely mismatched. And there were fresh hickeys on his neck. The heavy oak door swung open, and Ethan stood there in utter disarray. His shirt was buttoned completely unevenly, revealing fresh, fiery red marks on his neck that matching the ones on Maya's collarbone. Behind him, Maya was frantically pulling a sweater over her head, her face pale. Her eyes darting around like a cornered animal. See Chloe? Ethan stammered, trying to force a reassuring smile that faltered. Instantly. What are you doing here at this hour? I thought you were taking a shower and going to bed. I leaned against the doorframe, crossing my arms, and let my gaze wander. Deliberately from his tangled hair to the mismatched buttons of his shirt, then over to Maya, who was trembling in the shadows of the hallway. I came for what's mine, I said quietly, my voice calm, icy, and completely devoid of the gentle warmth Ethan was used to. Ethan chuckled nervously, taking a step forward to grab my arm, but I stepped back, dodging his touch as if he carried a contagious disease. Chloe, babe, listen to me, Ethan began, putting on his signature smooth tone. Maya was feeling really anxious about moving to Chicago, so I came over to help her pack. I was just leaving. Save it, Ethan, I cut him off, looking past him directly at Maya. Maya, I want my solid gold jewelry set back. The necklace, the heavy chain bracelet, and the matching earrings. Right now. Maya froze. Her eyes widened in panic. Chloe, what are you talking about? You gave those to me as a gift back when we graduated. You said. I lent them to you, I corrected her, lifting my voice so it echoed down the apartment hallway. You said you needed them to look professional for job interviews. Ethan promised he'd replace them for me, but he never did. Gold is sitting at an all-time high right now, over $2,000 an ounce. That set is 50 grams of pure solid gold. Give it back, or I'm calling the police right now and reporting a theft of over $4,000. That's a felony. Maya. Chloe. Ethan shouted, his face darkening with anger. Are you out of your Mind? Threatening your best friend with police over some stupid gold? You have plenty of money. Why are you being so petty? Petty? I let out a dry, cold laugh. Ethan, you just asked me on the phone to give her $100,000 of my savings for rent and another $200,000 for a luxury car. If I'm so rich, surely she can return a few $1,000s worth of jewelry. She's been hoarding for 2 years, right? Or did you two already sell it to pay for your Italian dinners and luxury dates? Maya's face turned bright red. She looked at Ethan, waiting for him to protect her, but Ethan was stunned into silence. He looked at me as if he were seeing a complete stranger. Fine. Maya hissed, tears of humiliation springing to her eyes. She stomped over to her vanity table, jerked open the top drawer, and pulled out the velvet jewelry box. She shoved it into my hands. Take it. I don't even want your tacky old gold anyway. You're unbelievable, Chloe. I opened the box, verified every single piece under the hallway light, snapped it shut, and put it securely inside my bag. Thank you, I said sweetly. Oh, and Ethan? Don't bother coming back to my apartment tonight. I've already changed the electronic door lock code. Your stuff is packed in 2 trash bags waiting outside the front door. Ethan's eyes flared with rage. You changed the code? Chloe, don't do this. You're making a huge mistake over a silly misunderstanding. The only mistake I made was wasting 10 years on a leech, I said coldly. I turned on my heel and walked toward the elevator. Behind me, I heard Ethan swear loudly and step out into the hall to chase me, but Maya grabbed his arm, crying, Ethan, don't leave me. What about the rent money? What about the loft? The elevator doors slid shut, cutting off their panicked bickering. When I got home, the apartment was quiet. The trash bags containing Ethan's clothes and shoes were gone from the hallway. He must have come by earlier or sent a courier. I sat on the couch and unboxed the gold jewelry. The Maine Coon sauntered over, leaped effortlessly onto the coffee table, and sniffed at the gold necklace with disdain. Cheap alloy finish, the cat muttered, its voice echoing clearly in my mind. Not even 24 karat. But sufficient enough to pawn for quick cash. You handled that remarkably well for a spineless human. Where am I going to pawn this at midnight? I asked, looking at the cat. Who said pawn shop? The cat rolled its majestic green eyes. Sell it to the private collector down on 4th Street tomorrow morning. He pays 15% above market value for raw gold scrap. Take that cash and buy the remaining adjacent plot next to your pigsty farm. There's a tiny, overgrown lot right behind it. Trust yours truly, the municipal rail line will need that exact corridor for their high-speed shuttle route to the new park. I stared at the cat in disbelief. Are you serious? You know about city infrastructure planning too? A stray alley cat from the Department of Transportation sleeps on the hood of my favorite sunbathing car, the Maine Coon said smugly, licking its pristine paw. Feline intelligence networks run this city, darling. Now, give me my freeze-dried salmon treats. I've earned them. I immediately fetched the treats, feeding the aristocratic creature with utmost respect. The next morning, I took the gold to the collector on 4th Street just as the cat advised. To my absolute astonishment, the dealer gave me $4,800 in cash on the spot without asking questions. I took that money, called the real estate broker, and secured the tiny 0.2-acre overgrown lot behind my desolate farm. My total investment in the desolate outskirts was now locked in. All I had to do was wait. At 9 a.m., I arrived at the hospital for the morning grand rounds. The atmosphere in the chief of medicine's conference room was tense. All the surgical residents and attending physicians were gathered. Maya was sitting in the second row, wearing a high-collared silk blouse that completely hid her neck. Her eyes were red and puffy, clearly from crying all night, but she had applied heavy makeup to mask it. When I walked in, she cast me a look filled with pure hatred, but quickly put on a fragile, victimized expression when the other doctors looked her way. Ethan was standing near the back, leaning against the wall. His expression was dark, his gaze fixed on me like a hawk. 5 minutes later, Dr. Harrison, the chief of medicine, stepped up to the podium holding a sealed manila envelope. Good morning, everyone, Dr. Harrison said, his deep voice commanding total Silence in the room. As you all know, our hospital was granted a single slot for the prestigious Harvard Clinical Research Fellowship in Chicago this year. This fellowship is a stepping stone to future leadership within our institution. Maya straightened her back, a subtle, confident smirk reappearing on her lips. She subtly leaned over to the resident next to her and whispered loudly enough for people to hear, "I've already packed my bags, honestly. The Chicago weather is going to be so cold." Dr. Harrison adjusted his glasses and continued. Selection was based on research publications, patient review scores, clinical performance, and the final essay submission before last night's midnight deadline. Maya's smirk widened. She knew I had promised her weeks ago that I wouldn't apply, leaving her as the sole senior applicant with a strong record. After reviewing the midnight submissions, Dr. Harrison announced the selection committee was unanimous. The candidate who demonstrated extraordinary research depth, flawless clinical precision, and an unmatched dedication to medical ethics is Dr. Chloe Vance. Silence fell over the room. Maya's smirk froze. Then, her face drained of all color. What? Maya gasped, standing up so fast her chair screeched loudly against the floor. That's impossible. There must be a mistake. The entire room turned to look at her in shock. Dr. Harrison frowned, looking sternly over his glasses at Maya. Dr. Lin. Control yourself. What do you mean, a mistake? Maya's breathing was ragged, her voice trembling with rage and hysteria. Chloe didn't apply. She told me she wasn't applying. She submitted her paper at the last minute behind my back. Dar. Lin. Dr. Harrison's voice turned thunderous. Fellowships are awarded on merit, not on private agreements or personal favors. Dr. Vance submitted a brilliant proposal on advanced minimally invasive cardiac techniques at 11:58 p.m. last night. Her clinical metrics far exceed yours. Are you questioning the integrity of the board? I. Maya stammered, realizing she had just made a catastrophic fool of herself in front of the entire department. Tears filled her eyes, but this time nobody pitied her. The surrounding doctors were whispering, casting judgment-filled glances at her outburst. Ethan quickly stepped forward from the back, trying to damage control. Dar. Harrison, Maya is just overwhelmed with exhaustion. She worked a double shift yesterday. That is no excuse for unprofessional behavior in my conference room, Dr. Harrison cut Ethan off coldly. Dr. Vance, congratulations. Report to my office after rounds to sign your acceptance papers. I stood up, bowed politely to Dr. Harrison, and said calmly, "Thank you, Chief. I won't let the department down." As I walked out of the conference room, I passed Maya. She was trembling with fury, clutching the edge of the table. "You backstabbed me, Chloe," she hissed under her breath, her eyes blazing with malice. "You ruined my life." I leaned in close to her ear and whispered so only she could hear, "I didn't backstab you, Maya. I just stopped letting you climb on my back to reach the top. Enjoy staying in the general ward." By lunchtime, the hospital gossip mill was running at maximum speed. Not only had I won the fellowship, but rumors began circulating about Ethan and Maya's suspicious closeness. A nurse had spotted Ethan leaving Maya's apartment complex early that morning wearing the same clothes from yesterday. Ethan cornered me in the hospital cafeteria while I was picking up a salad. "Chloe, we need to talk. Right now," he demanded, grabbing my tray. I didn't bother pulling the tray back. I just folded my arms and looked at him like he was a bug under a microscope. "We have nothing to talk about, Ethan. You should be packing your desk." Ethan's jaw clenched. "Why are you doing this? You stole Maya's fellowship. Do you have any idea what this does to her career? She came from nothing, Chloe. You have everything, a wealthy family, savings, talent. Why couldn't you just let her have this one thing?" I stared at him, almost amazed by his delusion. "Ethan," I said slowly, "my hard work earned that fellowship. My parents' hard work provided my safety net. Maya's poor background isn't a license to steal my life, my money, or my career. And it certainly doesn't give her the right to sleep with my boyfriend." Ethan flinched. He looked around nervously to see if anyone had heard. "Look," he lowered his voice, adopting a desperate, pleading tone. "What happened between Maya and me, it was a mistake. It only happened because I was lonely when you were working night shifts. She manipulated me, Chloe. I don't love her. I love you. We've been together for 10 years. 10 years, I repeated, letting out a soft laugh. And in those 10 years, you used my savings to fund her lifestyle, tried to trick me into buying her a luxury car, and planned to move into a loft with her behind my back while I was supposed to be weeping over a long-distance relationship. Ethan's face went pale as paper. How do you know about the loft? A little bird told me, I smiled sweetly. Or rather, a very expensive cat. Chloe, please, Ethan tried to reach for my hand, but I slapped his hand away sharply. If you ever touch me again, Ethan, I will report you to HR for workplace harassment, I said, my tone deadly serious. And by the way, Dr. Harrison just asked to see your recent departmental financial audits. It seems there are some discrepancies in the equipment budget you managed last quarter. Ethan's eyes widened in sheer terror. The Maine Coon had mentioned that too. Ethan had been falsifying small expense reports to buy designer bags and expensive dinners for Maya over the past 6 months, misallocating hospital funds under the guise of departmental entertainment. Before Ethan could say another word, 2 security guards approached us. Dr. Vance, one of the guards said politely. Dr. Harrison requested that we escort Mr. Ethan to the administration office immediately regarding an urgent audit matter. Ethan looked at me, his eyes filled with panic and dread. Chloe. Tell them it's a mistake. Help me. Goodbye, Ethan, I said smoothly, picking up my salad tray and walking over to a sunny table by the window. Over the next 2 weeks, the dominoes fell faster than I could have ever anticipated. The internal audit revealed that Ethan had embezzled over $45,000 from the hospital's research supply budget over the past 18 months. Almost all of that money was traced directly to bank accounts and credit cards used to pay for Maya's apartment rent, expensive clothes, and luxury trips to Miami that they took while pretending to attend medical conferences. Because the amount exceeded $10,000, the hospital didn't just fire Ethan, they filed formal criminal charges for grand fraud and embezzlement. Ethan was stripped of his medical license, fired effective immediately, and released on bail pending trial. His career in medicine was permanently destroyed. As for Maya, while she wasn't directly charged with the embezzlement, the board conducted a thorough investigation into her clinical performance. They discovered that several of her research papers had plagiarized sections, and Ethan had been illegally modifying her patient evaluation scores to boost her fellowship application. The hospital board issued a formal termination of her residency contract. She was blacklisted from every major medical network in the state. Without a job, a license, or any savings, Maya was forced to pack up her apartment. Her dream of moving to a luxury loft in Chicago vanished into thin air. Meanwhile, my life was transforming completely. 3 weeks after I accepted the fellowship, a massive news headline hit the front page of the city's Financial Gazette. Disneyland announces $5 billion mega expansion in city's northern outskirts. Municipal high-speed rail corridor approved. The entire real estate market went into a frenzy overnight. Developers, speculators, and corporate representatives flooded the northern district, desperate to buy up any available land near the proposed site. And right in the exact center of the designated development zone sat my 15-acre abandoned livestock farm and the adjacent 0.2-acre rail corridor plot. My phone rang nonstop for 3 days straight. Real estate agents, corporate lawyers, and private brokers were offering outrageous sums. I casually sat on my living room couch, sipping tea, while the Maine Coon sprawled lazily on a plush cashmere pillow beside me. Hold out, the cat purred in my mind, stretching its claws. The primary acquisition director for the resort conglomerate is desperate. They cannot break ground without your rail corridor plot. Make them bleed cash. How much should I ask for? I asked out loud. $12 million, the cat replied casually. Not a penny less. And demand a 2% non-voting equity share in the commercial retail zone. 2 days later, I sat in the top-floor conference room of a prestigious law firm downtown. Across the long marble table sat the lead acquisition attorney for the global entertainment conglomerate, flanked by 5 corporate lawyers. Dr. Vance, the lead attorney said, pushing a thick contract across the table. We are prepared to offer you an unprecedented $10 million for your property. This is 20 times what you paid for it 3 weeks ago. It is a life-changing sum. I didn't even look at the contract. I pushed it back across the table with one finger. $12 million, I said calmly. Plus a 2% equity stake in the commercial retail complex bordering the high-speed shuttle station. The attorney's face tightened. Dr. Vance, that is far above market valuation. For raw land. Then build your shuttle station somewhere else, I interrupted, standing up and pulling on my coat. I heard the secondary site option 2 miles south is available. Of course, that will delay your construction timeline by 18 months and cost you roughly $50 million in environmental rezoning. Your choice. The attorneys exchanged frantic, whispered looks. The lead lawyer quickly held up his hand. Wait. Dr. Vance, please, sit down. He took a deep breath, pulled out a pen, and modified the contract right in front of me. $12 million. And 2%. Commercial equity. We have a deal. 10 minutes later, the contract was signed, notarized, and executed. Within 48 hours, $12 million was wire transferred directly into my personal bank account. I paid off the $400,000 I had borrowed from my parents, giving them an extra $1 million as a thank you gift for always believing in me. They wept with joy on the phone, telling me to take care of myself in Chicago. On my final evening before leaving for Chicago to begin my clinical fellowship, I held a small farewell dinner at a private, 5-star rooftop restaurant downtown. I invited my closest colleagues, Dr. Harrison, and my mentors from the surgical department. I wore a stunning emerald green silk evening gown, paired with delicate diamond jewelry I bought myself. I looked radiantly confident, completely reborn from the tired, naive girl who used to let people walk all over her. As the dinner was wrapping up, I walked down to the hotel lobby to wait for my private driver. Suddenly, 2 figures emerged from the shadows near the entrance. They looked unkempt, desperate, and completely broken. It was Ethan and Maya. Ethan was wearing a wrinkled suit that looked like he had slept in it for days. His eyes were sunken, his face covered in rough stubble. Maya was wearing faded jeans and a cheap hoodie, her eyes red, clutching a worn handbag. When Ethan saw me, his eyes lit up with a mixture of shock and desperate hope. Chloe. Ethan rushed forward, but the hotel security guards immediately stepped in front of him, keeping him 5 feet away. Chloe, please. Just talk to me for 2 minutes. I looked at him calmly, gesturing for the security guards to hold back for a moment. What do you want, Ethan? Chloe. I saw the news, Ethan stammered, his voice trembling. The Disneyland expansion, you made $12 million. You're a multimillionaire now. I am, I replied indifferently. Maya stepped forward, her voice high-pitched and hysterical. Chloe. You have to help us. Ethan is facing 5 years in federal prison if he can't pay back the $45,000 he took from the hospital. And I'm getting evicted tomorrow. My landlord threw all my clothes into the hallway. You have $12 million. $50,000. Is pocket change for you? I looked at Maya, then at Ethan. Do you remember what you said to me on the phone 3 weeks ago, Ethan? I asked softly. You told me to give Maya $100,000 of my savings for rent, and $200,000 for a car. You thought my hard-earned money was yours to distribute. Ethan fell to his knees right there on the polished marble floor, tears streaming down his face. I was wrong. I was stupid. I was brainwashed by her. Chloe, I love you. I've always loved you. We spent 10 years together. You can't just leave me to go to prison. Maya's eyes flared with fury as she heard Ethan throw her under the bus. She turned on Ethan, slapping him hard across the face. You scumbag. Maya screamed at Ethan. You were the one who told me Chloe was an idiot who would pay for everything. You were the one who begged me to sleep with you in my apartment. You blamed everything on me. Shut up, you parasite. Ethan shrieked back, grabbing Maya's arms as they began physically fighting and screaming at each other right in the luxury hotel lobby. If it wasn't for you, Chloe and I would be married right now. You ruined my life. You ruined your own life, you broke criminal. Maya clawed at his face. The hotel security guards immediately stepped in, grabbing both of them and pinning them to the floor as guests gathered around, taking videos with their phones. I stood there, watching the grotesque circus play out before my eyes. There was no anger left in my heart. No sadness. Only a profound, liberating sense of pity for two pathetic parasites who had finally devoured each other. My private black sedan pulled up to the curb outside. The driver stepped out and held open the rear door for me. I turned my back on Ethan and Maya's pathetic screaming, stepped into the warm luxury of the leather interior, and settled into the seat. Sitting on the soft leather seat beside me was a custom plush pet carrier. Inside, the purebred Maine Coon was curled up comfortably, wearing a customized 24-karat solid gold collar studded with small emeralds that matched my gown. The cat opened one luminous green eye, looked at the chaotic scene outside the window, and let out a soft, satisfied purr that vibrated in my mind. Delightful entertainment, the cat purred lazily, though somewhat lacking in refined taste. Are we ready to depart for Chicago, human? I smiled, reached over, and gently stroked the soft, luxurious fur behind its ears. Yes, Sir Meow-a-Lot, I said softly as the car pulled away into the glowing city lights. Next stop, Harvard.